said we were having some internet issues, so I apologize about being late, but I think we got it all figured out. Give it a couple minutes. Let some of y'all join. Awesome. I think we're rolling here. Perfect. All right. Hope you're having a great week. Really excited about today's live training. I know we've been building off of a variety of different things when it comes to the personal branding side of things. To get started, I am going to drop a couple of links in here for everybody to be able to see. So the first being our Builders of Authority event that is coming up specifically. Well, it says I can't post comments. Lovely. Okay. So I will drop it in on Facebook because I know that's where most of y'all are joining from, but I will drop the link to our event that we're having here next month, as well as our mastermind group. So just a quick refresher, we're actually going to be making some announcements here later today for our first new speaker and new sponsor. So throughout the rest of the week, we have 3 people that we'll be introducing for that. So again, a reminder that is on Wednesday, March the 13th. And there's an optional VIP day, also add-on day on March the 14th for 3 hours. If you get a general admission ticket and want to do that add-on, it's just $200 extra in order to join. But with some of the speakers that'll be announcing this week, I anticipate our VIP tickets will be selling out. I just sold another one here this morning. So we only got about 10 of those left right now. So if you're on the fence, I know I'm talking to a lot of people and they're like, hey, I'm going to buy it. Well, those VIP tickets will sell out here soon. So really excited. We're putting in a ton of time, energy, money, and resources into that event. It's going to be all things personal branding, digital marketing, podcasting. Going to talk virtual assistants, going to talk sales, going to talk just overall coaching, influencer marketing, etc. So I'll be sharing the full lineup with you once I have that. And then also we have our Builders of Authority mastermind. So it's a group mastermind. It's the offer that most people are signing up for right now. It comes with 3 weekly coaching calls with myself and the rest of the group. We have over 20 members in there. Those are on Monday and Friday for office hours. And then on Wednesdays, what we do is actually break down this call and go a little bit deeper and further. So it's really cool. You get a 45-minute onboarding call with myself as well. So I know I've been fielding some questions and hopping on some calls with people that are interested in joining that. So really pushing that forward as well. And I don't know if I've done a good enough job from what I'm kind of like hearing and understanding of like either explaining that or understanding where all this stuff ties in. So I am going to be a lot more diligent about pushing this. And when I'm doing lives, when I'm doing these free trainings, really helping people understand what we have going on. But if you guys have any questions, comments from past sessions, feel free to ask those questions in the chat below. And I'll be sure to get those answered. Secondarily is if you do have any feedback or anything, any new sessions that you're wanting me to specifically touch on, feel free to do that again here in the chat or shoot me a message after that. But what we're going to talk about here today is, so last week, what we discussed was the lead magnet, right? So we discussed on what you need to do in order to drum up a bunch of leads and specifically how to do that. So we're moving really quick. If you haven't noticed as well, that was another piece of feedback that I got is, Adam, you're going from one thing to the next and all those things. I'm just trying to cover very, very high level strategies and tactics and not drag you along. There's going to be certain things that we talk about that are going to resonate more with you than others. But if you need that one-to-one or group coaching, that's what our Builders of Authority group is specifically for. So just to kind of bring all that stuff full circle. But to kind of start here today, let's just envision you got your lead magnet ready to go. You're trying to then take that lead magnet and do something with it, right? So for me specifically, I had over 500 people ask for that lead magnet over a period of time. And I decided to start Builders of Authority, but I wanted to launch Builders of Authority with a webinar. So I thought that that was a very good way of me announcing what the paid portion to all of this stuff was by providing an hour-long webinar worth tons of value. And so in next week's session, what I'm going to be talking to you about is how to structure the webinar, all the things that I learned specifically from it. But in today's video, I want to take you from creating and having interest and promoting that webinar. I see a lot of people right now that are doing webinars, and they might be doing them consistently. So like at Hike Digital, we're doing a webinar every single month. We also have people that are like launching new programs, launching new offers, and they want to have a big like opening about it. That's what these webinars are really, really good for specifically. But when we talk about kind of promoting it, right, you want to make sure that you're not just throwing a webinar and it's just you sitting on here and talking. Although that's a good place to start, like if you're uncomfortable and you need repetition and all those things. But the goal would be is how do I get, like I had over 100 people on the webinar at any given time, is how do we get that for you, right? And so what you want to be doing is you want to find a good date in time that resonates with your ideal audience. And so I do these webinars on a weekly basis at 3 p.m. on every single Tuesday Central Standard Time because it just fits in my schedule. I'm not trying to like sell a bunch or make some big commotion about it or anything like that. But when I do my monthly webinar for Height, we do it Tuesday at 5 because people are typically by their computer. I know it's a little bit after hours, for example. People are starting to end the day, things like that. But what I found, it's a really, really good time. And I found Tuesday's a really, really good day of the week to do it. So when I launched my webinar, and I had that personal branding webinar, I did it on Tuesday at 5 o'clock Central Standard Time. And I started promoting the event about 2 weeks out. So we had like a week, and then we had the week of Thanksgiving. And then that Tuesday after Thanksgiving is when I ultimately did that webinar. And so from inception of like announcing it, here are some of the strategies that I actually used in order to get the attendance, right? So I had all those emails that wanted the free lead magnet. So our goal here is how do we get a bunch of emails? How do we get people to say, hey, raise my hand. Hey, Adam, I'm interested in that lead magnet. We collect the email, and then we get that email and we put it into an email drip campaign where we're promoting the webinar once a week and then every other couple of days and then daily as we're leading up to the webinar. So started out with 2 weekly emails. Then it went to every other day, a couple days before, and then it went to every day, 3 days prior to the event. And our goal was just creating the landing page, having that landing page be super simple and easy for somebody to go, submit their information, get the calendar invite, and then make sure that they were obviously gonna put it on their calendar, accept that, and attend the event. So that's like the overall structure. Now, I already mentioned we sent out emails to everybody whose email we already had. So that included the 500 plus people that asked and raised their hand for the lead magnet. That included all the past customer, current client emails that we had in our database for Hike Digital. And then what I did as well is I would post every day about the webinar in some sort of fashion. So I made an initial post about the webinar itself. And then once a week, I had a big post, like a big, long, drawn out post about the webinar specifically. But as you'll remember, I was using like a funny, laughable meme every day leading up for 2 straight weeks, leading up to that event specifically. And that was what I think really started to drive the attendance and drive the registrations through the roof, because I wasn't just being like, hey, show up to the webinar. I was doing it in a funny, lighthearted manner. What I was also doing is I was creating, reels. I was going live. I was doing a little bit of everything, just trying to be like, hey, here's what we have going on. And when I was posting about it in short form on social media, I was literally telling people, hey, we had 50 people sign up so far. We had 100 people sign up. We had 150 people leading up to the day, like the morning of the webinar. I think it was 150 people that had registered. We doubled our registrations in the last 24 hours, really in the last 12 hours leading up to the event. So what I feel like I did a really, really good job about was just giving people an inside look of what actually was going on in planning the webinar. Here's the landing page I'm using. Here's how I'm getting registrations. Because of course I was teaching specifically on that as well, which obviously is a little bit different of an angle than some of you might be taking, but it really helped drive up the registration. And I was consistently just creating activity, messaging people about it. So if somebody was like, hey, Adam, I want the PDF. I was like, hey, here's the PDF plus don't forget to sign up for the registration. And I was like, hey, of course I want you on the live because I think you'll get more benefit out of it. But if you can't make it, don't worry, I'll send out a replay. So of course I was trying to get people to watch the webinar live, which is always going to be better, but I wasn't being like, hey, you can't watch it live, you don't get access to this information. So one second. So what you need to be doing is you need to have a multifaceted approach of how you're going to get people to this webinar. And if you are doing a consistent webinar, you should probably have themes to all the different webinars that you're doing. So I know like we're doing a monthly one for Hike Digital. Based on the month, we're going to have a different theme to it. So it's not just going to be the same thing over and over and over again. But if you're looking to launch something new, if you're looking to make like a big bang, so let's say you have like a new offer, a new service, a new business, whatever that might be, this is the exact game that you need to use in order to hit the numbers that you're looking to do. So I shared a post yesterday. We did a little over $20,000 in our first week, 6 weeks in terms of sales of Builders of Authority using this exact same approach. And Builders of Authority was not a freaking business like 2 months ago, right? It was literally in its infancy. The webinar was almost 2 months ago to the date. So for anybody saying like, hey, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know why I would do this. Well, if you're looking to grow and scale, if you're looking to promote something, if you're looking to do something differently than most people do, this is an incredible way to do it. And you have to get super aggressive about getting people to ultimately attend this webinar. You got to get super aggressive about getting people to sign up and ask for this lead magnet. So you need to pin that lead magnet on your Facebook profile. You need to do stories about it on Instagram and Facebook. You need to post about it on LinkedIn. You can't just make a couple of posts about the lead magnet and then a couple of posts about the webinar and expect to have hundreds of people registered, want to buy in, want to do all of those things for 99% of the population. Now, if you have hundreds of thousands of followers, if you're in a completely different sphere and level of the world than I am and most of the following that's watching probably this live, then you're an exception to the rule. But for most of us, we are going to no different than going to the gym or having other certain habits is we are going to have to get aggressive about promoting it. And the reason why we need to get aggressive about it is because we have to grab the attention of our ideal clients. There's so many different things that people could be doing instead of attending a webinar that we're throwing, especially if we're going to do it after hours. So you have to get super aggressive about making sure that people are going to attend, but more importantly, make sure that the content that you're putting out there is worth somebody taking an hour out of their day, an hour out of their family time, an hour out of whatever in order to attend. Because they can go get all of this information from your social media typically. They can go get it from freaking YouTube. They can go hire a coach. You have to make it to where it's like a no-brainer that somebody is going to show up, right? And that can't happen unless you consistently and aggressively start to post and get adamant that like this is what you are going to do. So I recommend a 2-week runway from announcing the webinar to actually having the webinar. Make one big post announcing it, make one other big post a week out, and then leading up to it, flourish in updates on registrations, updates on the content that you're talking about, utilize memes, do reels and stories in both the written format, in the video format, in the picture format. But you have to be doing multiple touch points while also taking that full list of leads that you had from your lead magnet and then emailing them consistently. Once when they get into the funnel, a week after that, and then every other day, and then 3 days out, send them a daily email. Hey, don't forget to sign up for this webinar. Don't forget to sign up to this webinar. Once somebody is registered for the webinar, that's when I send the confirmation email out. They get the calendar invite, and then I'm reminding them 72, 48, and 24 hours, and then a couple of hours before, hey, don't forget about the webinar coming up. Because again, if people don't see the value in attending this webinar, they're ultimately not going to show up. They'll just wait for the replay. But you have to continue to promote it and believe so much in what you're going to be talking about on that webinar that it is a no-brainer why somebody would not show up to the webinar. You have to believe in this more than anybody else. You have to believe in it so much that you're willing to make posts and see people not be as excited as you are. That cannot derail you, because there are going to be times where you're like, why the heck am I freaking do this? I show up each and every single Tuesday at 3 o'clock. And some days, even today, I was like, man, I got so much stuff going on. Do people actually care if I show up? I don't know. Hopefully you're getting value from this. I would love for everybody to be like, man, this is a good use of my time. And I hope that, of course, obviously it is. But you just have to think about that for an hour long after work or whenever you decide to do it. How are you going to deliver so much value, so much, appreciate the shout out, thank you, so much whatever, that people are doing that and then telling their friends about it? One of the biggest drivers to the registrations were the memes, but they were people sharing my memes with their audience because they were sharing it to their personal and business Facebook pages, that more people who I don't even know were signing up for the registration, which is why you consistently see me now consistently post memes about just entrepreneurship, about personal branding, about our Builders of Authority Live that's coming up here in a couple of weeks now, about 6 weeks out. Those are all things that I'm doing now. And again, I'm shifting the focus a little bit to like an in-person event. But those are just things that you have to consistently do. And it's not always fun. It's not always going to get the most engagement. It's not always going to get all of those things. But if you're looking to build something and reach new levels, build your business, grow your income, do all these things, you're going to have to do some things that are uncomfortable as shit. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to be willing to be okay with those things happening and just know that you gave it your all. Like at the end of that webinar, when I got on, all things said, I was just like, man, I did the best that I freaking could. Could I have done better? Always, of course. But I gave it my all. And I was able to, sleep at night. I was able to like wake up the next morning. And even though I had no registrations after that launch, I was able to be like, all right, I gave it my all. And I, Monday morning quarterback thinking like, well, what could I have done differently? Which I'll share that in next week's live. But that's when I woke up and I had my first one-to-one $1,000 a month member join my Builders of Authority program. So it kind of revalidated all of those things. And so I share that with you to know it's like, this is not going to be easy. This is not always going to be rainbows and sunshines. Like you are going to have to put the work in order to get the results that you're looking for. Because if you were getting the results that you were looking for, one, you probably wouldn't be on this call, but you would already be taking action on a lot of this stuff. Nothing that I'm teaching you here in Builders of Authority, in the course that I'm building, none of that stuff is rocket science. It usually comes down to taking action and doing for yourself what you know that you need to be doing. So I don't want to drag on too much longer. I know we got a couple people on here. If you guys have any questions, if there's anything that I can answer for you, let me know. Otherwise, we'll circle back for y'all next week. And next week, we're going to be sitting there and we're going to be talking about, hey, here's how I'm getting ready for the webinar. Here's specifically what I'm putting in the webinar. Here's how I'm crafting that offer. Here's some lessons that I learned from launching something on the webinar, all those individual things. Again, if you're interested in attending a live event where we're going over all of this stuff plus more with personal branding, make sure to check out our Builders of Authority live event on March 13th and 14th as an extra VIP or add-on day, or make sure that you attend, or not attend, but join our Builders of Authority mastermind group. Again, 3 weekly calls tomorrow. We're actually going to dive deep in how to promote webinars, how to get people, how to get eyeballs on what it is that you're ultimately doing. So thank you all for attending. Really appreciate it. Of course, Beto, thank you so much for watching today. And we'll see you next week. Let me know if you need anything. Appreciate you.